What is up, YouTube? Matt McKeever here, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about iBuyers. Do you guys know what iBuyers are? iBuyer stands for instant buyer. So it's essentially this idea of computer algorithms essentially buying your house. We're going to dive deeper into the subject matter in a second, but I'd love to hear your thoughts, your opinions on iBuyers. Have you considered selling your house to an iBuyer? Have you received an offer on your house for an iBuyer? How did that shape up? And did you guys know that iBuyers are coming to Canada in big ways in the near future? And we've already got a couple iBuyers that currently exist in Canada, but I definitely see a lot more on the horizon. So let's cover what is the old we buy houses for cash model. And do you guys know of anyone that does that? And then how do iBuyers make money? Why should you use an iBuyer? What are the cons of using an iBuyer, as well as what are the implications for Canadian buyers and sellers, the fact that these iBuyers are now here in our market, and what are the implications for Canadian realtors as well? Do realtors need to be scared? And finally, does my wholesaling business need to be scared about iBuyers as well? So we're going to cover all that and more in today's video. I'd love to hear your opinion, your thoughts on iBuyers. So the old model, the we buy houses for cash model, that's my model. We've got essentially over a dozen people now working in my wholesaling business here in Canada. We're one of the largest wholesaling companies in Canada. And yeah, we do those flyers that say, we'll buy your house in cash. We'll give you a fast, no conditions offer if that's what you're looking for. Or we can probably give you a slightly higher conditional offer based upon a few little caveats if you're willing to give us a little bit of time. So we work with sellers and really just find win-win solutions for those individuals. And oftentimes this is referred to wholesaling real estate, or alternatively like assigning deals, right? Flipping contracts is another way you may have heard it described. And so, these companies use representatives with local expertise to buy up as many properties in an area and sell them for a profit. That's both what the wholesaling companies like me do, as well as the iBuyers. And so iBuyers have really changed the game by eliminating or diminishing the role of local experts. Instead, they rely on algorithms that analyze home sale data in specific areas. This allows them to value homes much quicker than the old school, cash companies like myself, or at least that's what they think. And finally, it gives them increasing profitability and reliability. So the argument here is, and the expectation is that iBuyers, because of their lower costs based upon their algorithms and not having to hire local experts, have that local knowledge and information, that they'll be able to really give more money when buying a house. And that's going to crush margins when it comes to wholesalers and potentially push wholesalers out of the buying houses business. Now, there are some aspects to this that we'll explore a little bit later, but if you're a wholesaler, I don't think it's time to panic or jump off a roof immediately. I think that we can actually find a couple ways to win and thrive even in an iBuyer environment. So how do iBuyers make money? Well, first, the crux of their business model is based upon volume. So they need to do a lot of deals, they need to buy a lot of properties, and they need to sell a lot of properties in order to successfully execute their business model based upon their algorithms. There's really safety in large numbers for them. So if they're doing a lot of deals in the aggregate, it should work out for them. Where if they're only doing a handful of deals, that's where there's going to be a greater risk perception. The next part of their business model reveals how they can guarantee a profit. They only buy houses that fit their specific criteria. So the segment they tend to focus on is single family homes with a value between $200,000 and $600,000. So they like to stay just right in that nice median price range in a lot of markets, and they just want clean single family houses. They're not looking for complicated multifamily properties, unique situations, or complicated stories with asterisks. That's really where, companies like my wholesaling team come into play. We're able to get deep into those situations and really break down for people and structure a win-win based upon their exact situation. Where the iBuyers alternatively are really just focused on trying to offer you the best price. But understand that there's always two sides to the equation when it comes to putting together a real estate deal. There's price and terms. And so if they're focused only on price, it means they're not always going to be able to meet the seller's terms. And that's where I think there's a huge opportunity for local wholesalers and local experts to still thrive in an iBuyer market. So from there, they tack on an additional fee when they go to actually relist your property or go to sell your property. So their margins range a lot, but you'll often see anywhere from 6 to 12%, which is higher than the average realtor fee, which is often 3 to 5%, say in Canada, and can go as high as 7% in certain situations. And then lastly, iBuyers work with realtors to sell their recently bought homes and cover the commission from that point on. Normally, when they sell the home for a profit, they keep that for their troubles. So why sell your home, potentially to an iBuyer? Well, the most enticing reason to sell your home to an iBuyer is simply it's going to eliminate any waiting period. You get an answer fast, and some companies will even let you, set the move out date to suit your needs. So there is a little bit of customizability there, but not a ton. And then iBuyers, also take out the hassle of having to worry about fixing up your properties, doing any sort of renovations, getting it show ready. Same thing that wholesalers offer there as well. So again, they're very similar on a Venn diagram at this point. And then for the most part, iBuyers, will offer slightly below market value. That's their entire business model. Spoiler alert, wholesalers are often doing the same thing. But again, it really depends upon the nuances of the situation. iBuyers are really driven simply based upon this algorithm. Where wholesalers that use local experts, sometimes we can create more interesting opportunities. There are actually times, believe it or not, where we overpay for a property, but the reason we're willing to pay more than fair market value is because we're going to get some really interesting terms. So oftentimes those interesting terms may include things like a vendor take-back mortgage where the seller agrees to finance a portion or sometimes 100% of the property for us as the buyer. Now, this can create huge value adds for us or other potential investors. Now, an iBuyer is really just going to be focused on their algorithm. The algorithm is really just going to focus on a handful of data points and really spitting out a price. They're not going to get too hung up on terms other than maybe letting you customize, say, the closing date when you get to move out of your property. So some of the cons when it comes to dealing with iBuyers, obviously you're not always going to get the absolute top of the fair market value. Same thing holds true for wholesalers. Now, again, this really depends upon the individual's perspective. I know it's really easy when you don't spend a lot of time in real estate to simply assume that every individual must naturally want to sell their property for the absolute highest price. And there is a good segment of the population that does, but not everyone is solely motivated based upon price. There's other factors. For example, here in Canada, we don't have a 1031 exchange. However, we do have tax deferral through a vendor take-back mortgage. So again, it can sometimes make sense to pay more for a property, get a vendor take-back mortgage, which is going to result in less taxes for that seller. Or alternatively, we might pay less for the property and the seller's still willing to give us a VTB because it's going to help them from a tax perspective. Again, really depends upon the seller's individual situation. So furthermore to this point, some iBuyers don't buy houses as quickly as others. So again, just like wholesalers, not every iBuyer is created equally. So if you are looking at dealing with an iBuyer, make sure you understand exactly what's going on, exactly who you're dealing with, and just make sure you understand what you want to get out of that transaction. I really don't see any issues with dealing with an iBuyer under those circumstances if it fits you and your needs. And then finally, let's talk about iBuyers don't seem to take advantage of the pool of buyers. So again, they're going to just relist their property for essentially what is fair market value. They're really just living in the margin, right? They're just making a slight spread, buy a little bit less from Peter and sell it a little bit more to Paul. That's their entire business model. And so implications for Canadian buyers and sellers. Right now in Canada, there's two companies that you're likely familiar with that are doing the iBuyer strategy. This is Properly and Sweetly Real Estate. And the larger companies in the US like Open Door and Zillow, those are really the 800-pound gorillas in this industry, have not made a real footprint in Canada yet, but we can only guess with time that they're going to make a big push into this market. Properly operates out of Calgary, Ottawa, and Toronto, and has plans to expand to most major Canadian markets by 2022. Come at us, bro. We're here in London, and their buying criteria denies detached homes value at over 1.5 million, condos valued at over 1 million, and homes that are over 20 years old. Well, shit, we only want to buy properties usually that are 20 years old or older. So it turns out we're not really competing over the same properties. Again, this is where that problems or profits mentality always comes up. Far too often people are scarcity oriented in their thinking rather than abundance. If anything, this is just going to actually stop unqualified leads from reaching out to us. So the fact that Properly exists is fantastic because we don't really want to deal with, houses that are 20 years or younger. It's very rare that we're going to wholesale a property that's less than 20 years old. So that's a win-win right there. And their process is as follows. First, after describing and determining whether your home qualifies, they offer you an initial guaranteed price. Next, they give you time to buy your next home. Then they list your home on the open market and cover the mortgage costs until it is sold. If it doesn't sell within a couple of months, they buy your home for the initial guaranteed price, regardless of whether your home gained or lost value since the initial price was guaranteed. If they sell the home during the listing period for more than the guaranteed price, some of the profit is given back to the seller. So this is an interesting incentive. I definitely think we'll see more iBuyers moving in that direction as well. And when we're talking about Sweetly Real Estate, they work out of Edmonton, Alberta. And the criteria they require is that none of the properties were previously rented out. So shit, again, we almost only deal with rented properties and shitty properties over 20 years old. So again, it's important to really understand and look at the details behind these iBuyers, because I don't see a reason to panic as a wholesaler over them. And in fact, I think it's just another great addition, another great option available to sellers and Canadian citizens in general. So the way they differentiate themselves from properly is, firstly, they claim to provide an offer on your home within 24 hours. So they're very fast, apparently, with that offer. We've never used either of these services, but maybe we should consider trying them out just to see how it goes. But they admit to initially, let me know if you guys would like that in the comments section. They admit to initially offering around 78 to 86% of the home's market value, and then they freshen up your home, relist it, and sell it themselves. Not necessarily too different from a wholesaler. In fact, that's literally a wholesaler's business model. And some wholesalers probably pay a little bit more than 78% when closing on that property. And if any profit is made, they pay the owner up to 92% of the final price of the sale. So again, there's a little bit of an incentive here where you can get a little bonus payment if it turns out your property was worth more than initially thought. So I do think that we're going to see consumers liking that potential upside. It feels like a little bit of a gamble. If there's anything I know about the average person, it's that they love to gamble financially. So implications for Canadian real estate agents. You know, the influx of iBuyers will definitely challenge, I think, a lot of the shittier realtors out there. That just is the way it is. If you're providing a great service, if you're providing great customer relationships, I think you've got nothing to worry as a realtor. If you're literally just, you think that your license, your access to the MLS inherently guarantees you to being able to, dominate as a realtor, I think those days are gone. And we've already seen that once Treb was starting to be forced to release their public sales data and stuff like that. So the good news is, not every seller wants to replace their trusted real estate agent for some app or large scale company. People really do like the personal touch. That's also why I think wholesalers don't need to immediately panic. Not only are iBuyers not trying to buy the type of properties we normally buy, but they're also not trying to build the type of relationships. They're very transactional, and that's fine. Again, different strokes for different folks. I would love to hear your thoughts, your opinions when it comes to these iBuyers. Would you consider selling your property to an iBuyer? Have you had an iBuyer reach out to you? What other iBuyers did we maybe forget about that are currently operating in Canada? Let me know in that comment section, because we do want this to become a two-way conversation with you guys. And now let's talk about some of the untapped potential still left in the industry. So a lot of homes are left on the table after iBuyers deem them too risky to undertake. So that's where us wholesalers can still really come in. And according to Zillow, one of the larger iBuyers in the US, around 20,000 people attempt to sell their homes on their platform as of 2018. And the numbers are surely higher now. We currently don't have that information available. But, if we look at the criteria, those 20 and 25-year restrictions that a lot of these iBuyers have in regards to buying the property, like that just restricts so much of the inventory out there. So again, don't panic if you're a wholesaler in real estate or a private investor that's looking to buy off-market deals. And perhaps in this gap is a huge opportunity. Problems or profits, am I right? So I'd love to hear, what are your thoughts on the future? And to be honest, when I think about iBuyers, I hope to someday be able to create my own iBuyer company and be able to just simply supplement or add that as a value stack add to our already existing wholesaling business. And I suspect all our relationships with local experts, as well as all the data we'll have collected over the years of wholesaling, will really aid us in being able to navigate that if and when it's time to launch our iBuyer. And if you guys are currently working for an iBuyer that's pre-launched, that's about to come out, hit me up, because I am wildly interested in that, whether that's as an angel investor, a spokesperson, or some sort of more intimate partnership. I'd love to discuss that. So if you guys know of an iBuyer company that's planning to either roll out or launch here in Canada, hit up your boy. So as always, we do want this to be a two-way conversation. So I'm going to quickly jump over to the comment section. Really appreciate those of you that are commenting on these videos. So just want to give a shout out to Yusuf and D How To. So Yusuf was saying, can you give examples of terms that are as important as the price? Absolutely. So closing date is a big one. Now, some of these iBuyers will allow flexibility around closing date. The second one is the condition of the property. So oftentimes we'll take it as is, where is, how is. You can literally leave every stitch of clothing and every piece of food in your fridge if you want, and we'll accept that under the terms of buying the property. Again, most of these iBuyers will accept something similar, but odds are if your property is in really rough shape, they're not going to be willing to buy it. And again, we're often willing to buy unmortgageable properties where these iBuyers don't want to buy that because they're looking to flip it and resell it to retail buyers, where we're looking to flip it as a wholesaler and resell to another investor who's willing to take on that sort of challenge. So again, really appreciate you guys commenting on this video. If you got value from it, what I need you to do is smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're new to my channel, and share your thoughts and your comments on iBuyers. Would you use an iBuyer? Would you like to launch an iBuyer? And if you're a wholesaler, are you concerned about iBuyers? Continue the conversation in the comment section down below. I look forward to it. And reminder, this is a 30-day experiment. So if you guys would like to see these videos continue, I need your support. I need you to share. I need you to comment. I need you to smash the like button. And I absolutely need you to subscribe to the channel, because if after 30 days, it turns out no one's really engaging with this content, I will kill it. Appreciate you guys, and I'll see you on the next video.